folks, how's it going? You know, I've started this video 4 times, and I've just gotten so angry each time I've tried to start this video that it just turned into one long rant, and I had to stop and start over. All because I got so angry about what I'm about to talk about. I'm going to try to keep this one nice and calm. But I've got 2 articles here that I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to do my best to stay calm in this video. Because every attempt before, I've lost my temper, and I don't want to be like that. And I said things I'm sure would have gotten me some serious strikes on YouTube. So, what I'm seeing here in these 2 articles is giving me a very strange or a very strong sense of deja vu. And here's what I mean. We went into the pandemic when it first started. We saw certain things coming out of China, certain reporting. And I'm going to get to that here in a minute. And it was all designed to spark fear. And then we went through the pandemic, and then it drug on and on and on. And the government kept doing things, releasing announcements and statements that made it seem like we had to do something now, because if we didn't, this virus would be the end of humanity. That's essentially how they're making it sound. Well, here we go again. Just when we thought it was over, the government can't let good crisis go to waste. They've got to try to keep it going as much as possible, because the drug companies and the politicians that get kickbacks from the drug companies and the lobbyists, they've got to keep milking this thing for every single penny they can get out of it. Because it's their, they're making a ton of money off of it. So why wouldn't they continue to try to push this down our throats 2.5, 3 years later? It's crazy. But all right, the first article is from NBC New York. Of course, where else would this come from except New York City, unless it's from California? 2 of the most screwed up states in this entire country. New York City health officials urge New Yorkers to wear masks amid rise in Tridemic cases. So, here we go. In the face of high levels of COVID-19, the flu, and RSV cases, New York City's health officials have issued an advisory strongly urging New Yorkers to use masks. All right, so COVID-19 is not enough this time around. We've got to throw in the flu. God have mercy, nobody can get the flu. That's just unacceptable. All right. But that's just not enough, is it? It's just not enough. So they throw in all these recent RSV outbreaks. And since we're coming out of one pandemic, and since the flu, which usually isn't considered a pandemic, and the RSV cases haven't been considered a pandemic, but if you add them all together, suddenly we've got this tridemic, this horrible thing that we've got to stop. Oh, I'm starting to get fired up again, folks. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. This is infuriating. All right. In the face of high levels of COVID-19, flu, and RSV cases, New York City's health officials have issued an advisory strongly urging New Yorkers to use masks. New York City Health Commissioner Dr. Ashwin Vasan says that the rise in respiratory viruses is the reason as to why the city's health office is recommending not only the use of masks, but also vaccinations and boosters. Big shocker there, right? While respiratory viruses are spreading at high levels in New York City, There are common sense ways to protect yourself and your loved ones this holiday season. Vaccination, boosters, wearing a mask indoors or among crowds, and staying home if you don't feel well, Vasan said in a tweet. All right, and then he goes on to show his tweet like twice. The city's advisory recommends that everybody should wear a mask at all times while indoors, as well as in crowded outdoor settings. And let me guess, probably while you're in the shower, while you're eating, while you're sleeping. They probably want the dead to wear a mask too. You know. Yeah, this is just... I'm starting to get fired up, and I'm trying not to. I really am, folks. Because I don't want this to be a rant. But that's what it's... Every time I tried it, it's turned into one. But this is a perfect example of how a government will not let a single crisis go to waste. Not when they can use it to spread fear, and then use that fear to manipulate and control you. And in most cases, make a freaking ton of money off of you. Now, here's where the deja vu comes in. That strong sense of deja vu I was getting. If anybody, I don't know if anybody else remembers, but I do. Back when COVID first came out in China, and before it even spread beyond China, we were getting tweets and Facebook posts and video clips out of China of people locked in buildings, dead people lining the streets, dead people leaning up against a wall, slumped up against a wall, just dead everywhere. Chinese health officials running around in hazmat suits, spraying chemicals everywhere, and reports that Chinese crematoriums were running day and night, a constant bellow of smoke coming out of the crematoriums, because bodies were just stacked up waiting to be burned. Well, here we go again. I'm not going to read this whole article. This comes from Reuters.com. I'm just going to read the first paragraph and then read you a bunch of the names off of the reporting, because a whole bunch of people contributed to this. Beijing funeral homes, crematoriums busy as COVID spreads, by Alessandro Vigiano. This came out 14 hours ago. Beijing, Shanghai, December 17th, Reuters. Hearses bearing the dead lined the driveway to a designated COVID-19 crematorium in the Chinese capital on Saturday, while workers at the city's dozen funeral homes were busier than normal, days after China reversed the tight pandemic restrictions. Okay, you see what they're doing here? China reversed tight pandemic restrictions, so now dozens and dozens of people are dead, and they're having to burn the bodies. This article goes on to describe hearses lining the driveway in front of the crematorium, including a van with workers dressed in hazmat suits, removing a body wrapped in a sheet from the back and taking it inside the crematorium to be burned. I'm trying not to lose my temper here. I really am. This is exactly what we saw coming out of China when this whole mess first started. And suddenly, with everybody trying to lift it and thinking it's all over with, even Biden himself said it was done, the pandemic was over, and then they started trying to walk it back. Now, all of a sudden, going into winter, this comes out. Again, I'm going to go read the next little bit because the sheer amount of people that had their hands on this article. It wasn't written just by one person. Reporting by Ryan Wu and Alessandro Vigiano in Beijing and Winnie Zhao in Shanghai. Additional reporting by Jindong Chang, Brenda Go, and Eduardo Baptista. Writing by Sumit Chatterjee. Editing by Tom Hogue and Francis Carey. I mean, you really need that many people writing one article? Seriously? I'm thinking it just takes that many people to figure out the most shocking and dramatic way of composing an article. I mean, I'm quite surprised that the headline itself doesn't say bodies stacked like cordwood along the streets as the death toll rises from the new outbreak. I mean, if you're going to do it, just go all out, folks. Really? This article right here is nothing more than another attempt to use something that's actually going on, something someone saw, trying to blow it out of proportion to spread fear so that they can use that fear to control you. This is all about control, power, and money. It's as simple as that. We're already going into a dark winter. What with war in Ukraine, tensions ramping up between NATO and Russia because of NATO's supporting Ukraine and sending weapons over there, not to mention money. You've got energy crisis in Europe. You've got potential food shortages. You've got potential rolling blackouts. People potentially without heat this winter in the coldest days of the winter. We've got tensions in the east with China and Taiwan and the U.S. And now Japan's doing a major military buildup, and you've got clashes between India and China, and the whole world is on edge. There's tension everywhere. There's a whole bunch of saber rattling. There's a lot of financial struggling between nations right now. A lot of pointing fingers, a lot of accusations. There's discord between nations within NATO, if that tells you anything. So we're already going into a dark winter because of all of that. We're facing World War III, and now they got to throw this in there in the mix because all of that is not enough. The whole world seems like it's destabilizing right now. I got to take a breath, folks. Breathe in, breathe out, calm down. It really infuriates me to see that these power-hungry psychopaths that are in power, these people that keep getting elected somehow, regardless of how crappy of a job they do, how many lies they tell, how corrupt they are, they still keep getting elected because they keep using fear and propaganda to manipulate people into supporting them. The propaganda coming out of our governments right now is beyond belief. They want us to be scared. They want us to be in panic mode. They want us to be divided and fighting each other because we're easier to control that way. And with tensions and chaos in the world like it is right now, countries about to go to war, and believe me, that's exactly what's coming. You don't have countries spending hundreds of billions of dollars on military buildups, shipping weapons all over the world, moving troops around, and making accusations and threats. You don't see all that going on if we're not eventually going to end up in war. War is inevitable at this point, I believe. I don't see any way around it. And for some reason, which I can't understand, those in power, again, those power-hungry psychopaths in power, seem to want us to go to war. They seem dead set on it. Perhaps it's because they'll make more money. Perhaps it's because during times of conflict like this, governments always become more restrictive and more controlling. And this is their way of getting more money and more power. I don't know, folks, but they want a war. And they want us afraid, panicked, and divided so that while these countries are going to war against each other, they don't have to worry about us standing up and telling our politicians, enough is enough, stop it. They don't want us acting as a unified country. If we're divided, they can do whatever they want. They don't have to worry about us putting a stop to it. We're headed for war, folks. Maybe they'll try to use this to do more lockdowns this winter. I don't know. I thought about that a few days ago. I was wondering if they were going to try that. And it certainly looks like they will now because this new Tridemic and all this crap. Government will only do one thing. Throughout history, government has only done one thing: grown bigger and more controlling of the people it governs. I don't know what to tell you, folks. I'm infuriated right now. I'm angry because they keep trying to use things like this to manipulate us. And that's not to make light of the people that have gotten sick or the people that have died from this stuff, because people have gotten sick. People have died. But it's clear, it should be clear to anybody with any sense that's awake enough to understand what's going on, that they are blowing this stuff up out of proportion intentionally so that it can be used to manipulate you. I mean, look what they did with jobs. They shut everybody down, putting a lot of businesses out of business. Dang near destroyed the supply line. Almost crippled it. And then when the people that had worked through the pandemic, because they didn't get the jabs, they were letting them go because they couldn't be used. They couldn't keep their jobs. They're not safe. So it put more strain on an already damaged infrastructure. This isn't good, folks. And they're going to continue to do things like this. We have to be prepared to deal without systems of support, to deal without power, without going to the store for our food, providing for ourselves, being self-reliant, relying only on ourselves and within the people we can count on within our own communities. The government, the only thing government does good is cause more problems. Yeah, that's probably the one truth in this video right here. If there's anything you can take away from it, government, the only thing government does well is cause problems. Keep prepping, folks. We're in for a hard time. I hate to be on that doom and gloom note, but it is what it is. I appreciate you guys watching. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Stay busy, stay productive, get things done. Take care of yourselves and your family. Stay safe. And until next time, folks, I'll catch you later.